Do you struggle with setting boundaries? You feel like you're saying the right things. You feel like you're being firm. And it's like these people aren't listening. It could be a situation at work where you're trying to communicate with your manager and your bosses and you just feel like, what the fuck? Like they're not listening to me. Or it could be in dating or in relationships where you're trying so hard to speak your truth, but somehow they ignore it, they dismiss it, they don't get it. I relate to struggling with setting boundaries, especially because my boundaries weren't honored when I was growing up. So it felt like my needs weren't important, especially when I felt emotional. I was told that I'm being too emotional, or I have no reason to be emotional, I have no reason to be angry. So let me know if you relate to any of those things. When growing up, we had an authentic need to express how we're feeling, and emotions are a way that our bodies communicate to us, a way that we communicate to other people of how we're feeling. And when that wasn't allowed, what happens is that we dampen our authenticity. And for survival, it's more important for us to dampen and hide our authenticity than it is to lose connection with our caregivers. So being connected is more important to our survival because we're dependent on them. However, the messaging that we get deep down is the belief that we don't matter, our needs don't matter, we don't deserve to have needs, we don't deserve to have them met. And so that energy comes across when we are trying to set boundaries. So even though we're thinking we're saying the right things, from a nervous system perspective, we are not transmitting the energy, the clear energy of like, this is my boundary. This is, I don't like this. I don't want this. And when you have struggled with this kind of attachment wounding from early on, what happens is we end up training the people in our adult lives that we don't have boundaries. Because early on, even with the small ruptures in boundaries or misattunements, we don't speak up. And then these things pile up and we get frustrated and annoyed, and then something breaks what is the saying again? The straw that breaks the camel's back. Then something happens, and because there has been so much pressure built up in our system, we explode out or we become really emotional. And then we set a boundary of, this is not okay, But that's coming from a place of defensiveness, of like pushing away. And it's coming from a place of survival, of a fight-flight place. And what happens when you set boundaries and communicate from that place is the other person also, their nervous system feels a threat. And they're less likely to be able to hear the words that you're saying because their nervous system is responding to your nervous system in threat. So the words that we say are only 20%. This is what I learned in my psychotherapy program. But the words that we say, the spoken words, are only 20% of the communication. 80% comes through our body, our nervous system. So like posture, tone of voice, the energy that we emit, the facial expression. And when we're talking also, maybe it's not a fight boundary that comes out when we've had enough, but maybe it's an emotional one of like, I don't know why you never listen to me. Like, I need, And then we over explain and we justify, and all of that kind of falls flat. So, the boundary work, this is one of the core pillars that I do with clients. I love doing boundary work, is to learn to connect to our core, our solid self, to a place where we are connected to our authentic needs. And then we have to be able to, our energy has to radiate outward. So if we're depleted, if we have chronic fatigue and we can't even feel our energetic boundary, we don't even know where it is, then others won't feel it either. And they're just going to plow over you. So learning to feel like, okay, where is my energetic boundary? And can I learn to be like, this is my space and this is the outside world. And if someone crosses my boundary, how can I, it doesn't even have to be words, but with my thoughts, my mind, imagery, like or energetically, how can I send them out? And then you start practicing with small boundary ruptures, because this is really where it begins. So for example, I was going to chat with, I'm dating, this is a couple years ago, I was dating, and we scheduled a video call to get to know each other, and he was late, like really late. And for me, I value time a lot. That's something that's really important to me. So I could have just been like, that's okay, no problem, which is what I used to say. But thanks to my coaches and some help, I realized that these are the small ruptures, these are the small places where I need to speak up for myself. And I'm not taking any accountability or responsibility on how that person reacts, that's their stuff. But at least like I'm starting to practice, hey, can I share something? Time is, I really value my time and other people's times. And it really frustrates me when I show up for something that feels important and that person doesn't respect my time and shows up really late. And at the beginning, when we set these boundaries, it might feel dysregulating, because your system's like, oh my God, no, it's not safe to say your thing. Because like we've got this messaging from our parents that our needs don't matter, so we learn to shut it up. But it's in those little practices, and then you start practicing it in more charged situations with ex-partners, with your partner, with your family, with friends that are important to you, with bosses. But you build a capacity to learn to stay centered and speak your truth. And you don't go to the hardest source. Of course that's going to throw you off, and you're going to feel activated. But yeah, those are the steps. And then, really doing the nervous system regulation work, healing the trauma, the attachment wounds that led to you not feeling like your needs matter, and learning to reframe that story and correct it. So this is the kind of work that I do with one-on-one clients. And if you're interested in learning more, please leave a comment or send me a message, and I'm happy to continue the conversation.